We're gonna rebuild the glory, 'cause we can't let it die. And if anybody tells you it can't be done, they're telling you a lie.
The boardwalk, the palace, the clubs, people come to Asbury Park to realize a rock and roll dream, a rock and roll fantasy, whether real or imagined. It's a sense, a feeling people have.
Everywhere I've been, Scotland, England, Belgium, Holland and Germany, people tell me how they dream about visiting Asbury Park to see places like the Palace and the casino and the other famous landmarks.
Throughout the world, every Springsteen fan that you talk to knows of the Palace. And I talk through the internet to a lot of people around the world, and they all dream of coming to New Jersey to see the Stone Pony, to see the Palace, to see Madame Marie's, to see all the things they've heard about, the legends of Asbury Park.
We're gonna buy that old building, make it a national monument, move the music back in, give the old times a new spin. Let's get on with it.
Of all the special places in Asbury Park, New Jersey, none is richer in history than the Palace Amusements. It was one of the nation's earliest indoor amusement parks, home to a classic carousel and the oldest Ferris wheel in the world, a place of thrills and fantasy that made lasting memories for everyone who passed through its doors. It defined the cultural heritage of Asbury Park, and even now, in Asbury Park's time of greatest need, it is a key to the prosperity of the city by the sea. Yet no place on Asbury's waterfront is more endangered. At 6 p.m. on November 27, 1988, the Palace was locked and put out of business. One by one, the attractions were sold off, and in the 13 years since, the Palace has been left to the mercy of ocean storms, vandalism, and decay. Today, developers covet the Palace, not for its own sake, but for demolition, so that high-rises and condominiums can be built along the waterfront. It opened in 1888 in a Victorian pavilion 2 blocks in from the Atlantic Ocean as the home of Carousel, with hand-carved horses and cherubs and beveled lights. The Ferris wheel, added in 1895, carried you to an observation deck high above the roof for spectacular views of the ocean. By the mid-50s, there were dark rides and bumper cars, pinball machines and snow cones. Gigantic paintings of the Palace are even now some of the most identifiable icons on the Jersey Shore. For millions of vacationers, the Palace was a palace of dreams.
To me, the Palace was just that, a palace. It was a palace of happiness, a palace of childhood fantasies that could come true.
One time we actually went there, we went inside the, I guess there was a fun house, but it was haunted to me and my sister. We went in, we were so scared, we had to run out. My mom went through it with us.
The Palace was an alluring place. Pinball Way, the Tunnel of Love, the Tilt-A-Whirl. I think that's why Bruce referred to it in so many of his songs.
The Asbury Park of Bruce Springsteen's poetry reflects a unique sense of place, highlighting the beach, the boardwalk, the casino, and Madame Marie's. The Palace, however, appears more frequently in his writing. He wrote about it as early as 1973 in 4th of July, Asbury Park, Sandy, and again in Born to Run and Tunnel of Love. There have been Palace images on memorabilia from tours in 1973 and 88 and 1999-2000, bringing the Palace to the attention of a huge worldwide audience.
We have readers who come here just to see these very things, from the other side of the world. It does matter a great deal to a great many people that the musical geography of Bruce's music, is very real.
Since my first weekend in Asbury Park in 1986, I have visited Asbury Park, I think it's like 25 times. I met people from Japan in the Asbury Park Rock and Roll Museum. I met people from France on the boardwalk. I ran into people from Spain waiting for the bus, people from Italy, Hungary, Australia, all over the world.
Because of its historic significance, the palace was recently placed on the New Jersey and national registers of historic places. Structural engineers inspected it and reported that the palace can be preserved, and a New Jersey developer is prepared to restore the palace and preserve its historic features.
He's gone so far as to gather together pieces of the merry-go-round that he could find, and I understand that he has the entire Ferris wheel, which he found somewhere in the south, and he's keeping it and waiting until we get some kind of clearance so that he can begin bringing it back.
But today, the future of Asbury Park's historic buildings, including the palace, remains very much in doubt. As developers and politicians chart the future, one path turns away from Asbury's roots, away from the very fiber of what makes Asbury Park unique, and ends up at the blade of a bulldozer. This is the easy path because it takes no vision, no fortitude, no courage to demolish an historic building. The other path capitalizes on the fabric of Asbury Park, connecting those who know what Asbury was and what it can be again to the economy of the future. This same choice faced Liverpool, England, a few years ago: the bulldozer or preservation. Liverpool made the mistake of turning its back on a music landmark and paid the price.
In my hometown of Liverpool, the famous Cavern Club was demolished to make way for a car park. This was a big mistake. Several years later, the City Council excavated the Cavern Club and has since held a 3-day annual Beatles celebration, during which time the city centre literally comes to a standstill. It's full of crowds, tourists and fans from all over the world. Asbury Park can have this success too, but hopefully without the mistake.
I have no doubt that Asbury Park will come back bigger, better, and stronger than ever, and I do believe the music scene will be a vital player in that.
By preserving and restoring the palace, Asbury Park can become especially attractive to 3 major income-generating groups of tourists: hundreds of thousands of fans of Jersey Shore music, historic amusement parks, and New Jersey history would spend enough money in Asbury Park to create a permanent, stable, and significant boost to the economy.
In New Jersey, tourism and preservation are becoming an increasingly lucrative affair, and it's an expanding business venture in New Jersey, with over $500 million a year spent visiting historic sites. My estimation as a historian, Asbury Park could definitely share these benefits if these structures are preserved. And if they're not preserved, it would be like throwing them out the window.
Consider this. Further down the shore, Margate, New Jersey has one historic destination, Lucy the Elephant, which draws 25,000 visitors each summer. 25,000 visitors spend enough to create 41 local jobs, $91,000 in local taxes, and nearly $1 million in local wealth.
In my experience as an historic preservation consultant, the economic potential for Asbury Park is far greater because it has 5 potential historic destinations. Those 5 historic destinations together would form the basis of an historic tourism community that would draw people to Asbury Park, who would not only go to the sites but would eat in the restaurants, shop in the shops, and stay at the hotels for weekends or weeks at a time.
The economic benefits from restoring the palace would almost immediately be felt throughout Asbury Park. According to a Rutgers University study, tourists to historic destinations in New Jersey tend to spend more and stay longer than most other tourists in the state.
The average adult who comes to New Jersey to visit historic sites spends about $250 a day on hotels and restaurants and other amenities. Asbury Park is not getting its share of that money right now. If Asbury Park wants to capture its share of that, I really believe that it has to work on preserving its musical and other heritage.
It's no different from a town discovering a huge oil deposit underneath it and saying, we can pump this oil and make money, or finding a gold mine underneath, City Hall and saying, we can mine this gold and bring prosperity to our city. What hopefully this historic designation shows people that they've got a gold mine or an oil well or something that can bring prosperity to Asbury Park.
And what people don't really realize is dollar for dollar, historic preservation in New Jersey is a big economic winner. Just $1 million spent to restore a historic building in New Jersey creates more jobs, more tax revenue, more income, and more wealth than if the same amount of money was spent on new construction.
If the palace is able to be preserved, and I really trust and hope that it can, it's going to be the linchpin, the landmark for people who are coming from other places to see Asbury Park. It's so well associated with the city. It is such an integral part of the oceanfront.
I give tours of the area around here to show off the rock and roll history, and there's a lot right here in Asbury Park. We've had people from Europe, plenty of people from Europe, from Australia, from South America, plenty from Canada, and of course from the United States, as far as California and Colorado.
Asbury Park has had so much musical history. This place has been a center of pilgrimage for rock and roll fans from around the world who've come to see where Bon Jovi, Southside Johnny, Miami Steve Van Zandt, and Bruce Springsteen started their careers. It's a place that is important, not just to us, but to the world.
America for Europeans is a very romantic place, and Springsteen, part of his genius, if you like, was that he romanticised Asbury Park. Which, you know, it is fascinating to go and see the places that are referred to in the songs. I mean, the obvious example is Madame Marie's or Kingsley Avenue, etc., Highway 9, all these places. And it is pure, unadulterated fun to visit the places that people have seen in the videos or on album covers.
People need to understand that housing and businesses become more interested in communities that exist as communities that have a past and a future, not just a present. I think that in this town particularly, where the musical heritage is really quite diverse, and there's blues and there's jazz and there is world-class rock and roll, those things are things that this community identifies with and people around the world identify Asbury Park with.
As Asbury Park prepares to write a new chapter for its waterfront, the Palace can be a vibrant force for jobs, tourism, and economic revival. Jobs, because now is the time historic preservation can generate business for Asbury Park's hotels, restaurants, and shops. Tourism, because now is the time historic preservation can strengthen the ties that bind people to Asbury Park's special places. And revival, because by restoring its historic buildings, respecting its past, and enriching its future, Asbury Park can realize the dream of a community that is a wonderful place to live, to play, and to prosper. A dream whose time has come.
Yesterday was the time to save it, but we can't go back. Today is the time to save it. It has to be done today.
If you knock these beautiful buildings down and put up high-rises in the place of the palace, what would they come to see? You can see a high-rise anywhere, but you can only see the palace in Asbury Park.
If you tear those places down, their dreams die. And I don't know too many people who would travel from Europe to see where the palace used to be.
I think that once this building is back, it'll mean we're all coming back. The whole thing will be back.
Shore. 43 thrill seeking passengers, counting me, there's 44. To the right there sat a banker, to the left there sat a nun, waving bye to their well-wishers, keeping another weekend in the sun. You'll show some passion and feel the pain. In a day of mass confusion, looking for a night out on the town. Even through the pages of a newspaper, someone left
bus ride. It was so hard to believe, just like the one that I am riding on. Sat back for Tel Aviv, they started cussing out the windows and then breaking down their doors. Yeah!